Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cornwall. Cornwall, it's all about the nature, about the sea and about the land, and of course about the magnificent views. It is very important to stop and contemplate and not let the thoughts ruin the experience of what you're seeing. It's tremendous to immerse yourself in the grandeur of the nature. Our adventure begins in Tintagel. It's the first village that we're going to see. This village is a very special place. The history and mystery run deep here. The village is very beautiful and unique. So let's start with the old post office, which originally was a 14th century manor house. Historically, the name Tintagel means village on a mountain. But hold on to your seats. After taking a quick look around, I will show you the biggest and the most mysterious place just outside the village. The village is full of small shops and of course the famous St. Nectan's pottery. So before we went on the journey to embrace the mysterious place, we had to pop in to the traditional Cornish pasty place. Needless to say that those pasties were delicious. The place that we're about to see is Tintagel Castle. As we went down the long pathway towards the sea, we thought of it as an impressive place. The further we went, the more it felt like the sharp rocks create some kind of atmosphere which is hard to put a thumb on. It was as if the place was drawing us in. And there it was on the hill, the gigantic rock on which the ruin of the castle is situated. It was built in 13th century. That is the age of the ruin which is there at present. Most likely that there would have been wooden versions of the castle, making this place very, very old. When we first saw this place, the choice of place for a castle really surprised me. It stood there on a lone cliff, isolated and independent. And the bridge was probably the only access to the castle, maybe apart from some passages to the sea. But having said that, there is a reason for everything, and I guess it made perfect sense at a time to build a castle exactly there. Behind me you see the rock. But it's not just any rock, it's a very, very special place. According to the legend, this is the place where King Arthur was conceived. And that cave, or should I say array of caves, is where Merlin lived. To me, it's all about the scale, about the sense of grandioseness, the grandeur, if you will. But look at that little fence right there on the top of the cliff. You can see how small the people are. Isn't that a perfect place for a castle? Down below is the Great Cave, where, according to the legend, Merlin, the great sorcerer, lived. First time we came there, the tide was in and we could barely get past the rocks. And it's only because of a local person in the neighboring village who told us about these caves that we decided to come back and explore. Second time we went there, the tide was out and we could come and see the beautiful waterfall. This is the cave where Merlin lived. Once you walk into the cave, the sound of the sea and cold breeze take you away. This is what the cave and castle look like from the neighboring cliff top. It is quite amazing to realize that this is the place where King Arthur was born and that he walked the same cliffs. It really is quite remarkable to be where the legend of King Arthur started. Only around the corner, a very short drive away from Tintagel, we're about to see the beautiful village of Boscastle. Only about 10-minute drive brings you to a magnificent seaside village. It is famous for its fishing port, numerous independent shops and cafes, as well as the curious museum of witchcraft. It is where we've tasted probably one of the tastiest fish and chips ever. Only a few steps away from the main street, we saw a row of beautiful and quirky cottages. All of them embodied the spirit of Cornwall, cobbled pavements and neatly put together walls made of the local stone are so well preserved that it seems that they were built not long ago. I absolutely loved how the local people used local stone to decorate their cottages with. The exposed rock have unique patterns, and at times they did look like they were masterfully put together to make the place more attractive. That, of course, is Mother Nature at work. When you're walking on these rocks, they are solid and have stair-like quality to them. Step away and they look really dramatic. Tiny steps carved into the rock led us to this beautiful scene. This is the magnificent Boscastle harbour. Needless to say, we were compelled to climb on the top of the cliff to admire the beauty of the village and the sea from the top. There were many intricate moments where we were very glad to have non-slip shoes. It was breathtaking to observe all of that, and looking at the village from these heights certainly made me realize why it was built there. It is perfectly shielded by the surrounding cliffs. We have climbed both cliffs on both sides to admire its natural beauty. It is only a few miles away from Tintagel, but certainly feels like a completely different place. I must also share my impression that historical villages do have that quality. They draw you in, take a short drive to a neighboring village, and there is a completely different world there. On this note, we are driving to our next destination, the beautiful town of Stratton. This was where we stayed to visit all those wonderful places. It is located only a few miles away from the beautiful town of Bude. The earliest mention of Stratton could be traced back to King Alfred's will in 880 AD. It was later mentioned in the Domesday Book in 1086. And I always pointed out, when I say it was mentioned, this doesn't mean that it was built on that day. Chances are there was a smaller settlement there before. All the cottages form terraces, and no two houses are the same. They really form an architectural harmony. Cottages are full of details like this tiny window. Even the tiniest of spaces are so tastefully arranged that it all simply looks perfect. The ancient cobbled roads are built so well that they are still in perfect condition to this day. We loved this small park-like space, which was right outside the cottage where we stayed. This is St. Andrew's Church. The font is its oldest part. It dates back all the way to 12th century. The north aisle dates back to 14th century, and the tower, aisle and chancel date back to 15th century. It's quite remarkable that it literally took centuries to build this church. One local gentleman advised us to see the most intricate and unusual gravestone with a sculpture. As you can clearly see, there are no grandiose palaces behind me, and instead There we go, an honesty egg shopping place. And to me, Cornwall is very representative of a true folk, of honesty, of nature. And let's go, follow me. We're gonna get some real eggs. The eggs that taste like... Now isn't this amazing? Just put some coins right here. Thank you, it says. Our next destination is the magnificent Bude Harbour. The first thing that we saw when we've arrived there is the gigantic Bude Sea Lock. The unique and very powerful lock was constructed in 1819 by the engineer James Green. It is here that he pioneered the use of tugboats for transportation of goods. The strength of nature always amazed me. Look at the size of these lock gates. All of that was put in place to tame a relatively small canal. We have arrived there in the evening and were compelled to admire the sunset at the sea. It really is remarkable to see the entire harbour from this spot. This is where all small boats are kept. They stand upright and are locked to the walls. Those are the views on Celtic Sea, which is a part of the Atlantic Ocean. When we were there, one local gentleman told us that we were really lucky to see clear sunset like that and water of this bright, bright color. When walking down these steps, you could really appreciate just how powerful the sea is. All the steps are weather-beaten and eroded. It's only a question of time before the stone gives in front of the might of the sea. This is a very special spot. We went there catching the last rays of the sun. The climb was steep, but it was worth it. We are now at the compass point in Bude. Overlooking the sea stands this beautiful storm tower. It was built in 1835, and by looking through the windows, your gaze could be directed to the different parts of the world. Its design was inspired by the Temple of the Winds in Athens, which is in Greece. Being inside this little tower feels amazing. Thank you very much for joining us on this wonderful journey. If you've been to those places, please share your impressions with me. As always, please subscribe to my channel. And until next week, bye bye.